I'm quite certain you've heard about PLG or product-led growth, and you're wondering what's the fuss about? Well, let's get into it. Welcome back to another exciting episode, and today I have a fascinating topic for you, which is product-led growth. It's a game-changing approach or strategy that is redefining how SaaS companies grow and succeed in the digital age. To kick things off, let's start with the basics. What exactly is product-led growth or product-led growth strategy, and why is it causing such a buzz in the business world? Product-led growth, or PLG as I'll be calling it in the rest of this video, is basically a growth strategy mostly adopted by B2B SaaS companies that revolves around having the product as the primary driver for customer acquisition, retention, and expansion. In simpler terms, it's about creating a product that is so user-friendly and valuable that it practically sells itself. A lot of companies are adopting the PLG strategy to prioritize delivering an outstanding user experience and rely on word of mouth, virality, and just data-driven interactions to drive growth and ultimately expansion, and eventually increase revenue. It won't be fair to define PLG or product-led growth and not talk about growth. The concept of growth is all about maximizing the distribution of a product via scientific method. Pretty much, how do we make this product accessible to more people with the least cost in a repeated, predictable manner? The mind behind this concept is a guy known as Sean Ellis. He's a prominent figure in the development of growth hacking. He's a trailblazer who revolutionized how startups and businesses scale and grow. He basically champions a systematic and data-driven approach that involves experimentation, data analysis, and overall strategic iteration to optimize how a product is distributed and how users are acquired for a product. Core essence of growth hacking is about using ingenious and unconventional methods to achieve rapid growth. We've tackled growth and growth hacking. Let's take it back to PLG and spend time talking about the building blocks and the principles of PLG, which is where I want to dwell on for the most part in this video. I'll be going into a comparative discussion around those principles and how they stack up or compare to what we used to do pre-PLG. Again, someone will probably ask, what did we used to do before PLG was a thing? I'll get into that. You may have been through an experience where you saw an advert for a product that you may go through the website, explore the features, and you're like, yeah, this might be interesting. But the most prominent button or call to action you see on the website says, talk to our sales team, book a call, or contact us. There is no opportunity for you to try or demo or explore the product by yourself. That's what used to happen before product-led growth became a strategy that a lot of organizations now adopt, which basically involves you having to talk to a sales team who will understand your requirement, talk to you about the product, do a demo for you, and be sure that you are the user that you're trying to sell the product to before they eventually figure out how to set you up to get the product up and running, which may involve some deployment, training, and hands-on sessions. That used to be the life before PLG, but there were some limitations with that approach, which is why PLG is a thing that people adopt now. Comparatively, now you may go to a website and the most prominent call to action or button that you see says sign up now or sign up for a free trial. Those are the indications that a product itself is self-service and it requires you to go through the experience to make a decision to buy by yourself. Now that's product-led growth. What's till the end of this video, because I'm going to be sharing some suggestions and tips for you if you are considering the possibility that your organization wants to start adopting the PLG strategy. The first building block or principle of PLG or product-led growth is product market fit, then data, and then growth. And I'll explain. PLG is a well-ordered sequence where growth follows after achieving product market fit, meaning that you already understand the market for your product, understand that you're solving a problem, and have validated that some users are willing to pay for you to solve that problem before you decide to go along with product-led growth. When a company decides to prioritize growth before achieving their solid product market fit, it means that they might be investing heavily in acquiring users, which is growth, and expanding their reach before ensuring that the product genuinely meets a need and users are willing to pay for it. And that's basically working backwards. This invariably means a company may allocate resources and efforts towards scaling the product without it actually addressing a need. And this may eventually result in misaligned internal priorities or just wastage of resources that are channeled towards growth. The key point here is achieve product market fit before attempting growth. Rushing into growth without a strong product market fit can lead to situations where the product is not resonating with the users as expected. The users that are being acquired may not necessarily understand what the product is about because product market fit is not so strong. Users may encounter problems or limitations that will eventually cause dissatisfaction and potentially lead to high churn rates. A typical illustration of this could be, imagine that you have a mobile app that is supposed to be for task management that launches only with limited features and a very rough user experience, limited features that does not achieve the task management. The company aggressively invests in marketing and user acquisition and thinks about product-led growth and campaigns to boost the downloads and registration. However, users go into the app and they find it confusing and they cannot achieve the task management, which is supposed to be the value proposition for the product. This will eventually just lead users out of the product, lead to a high uninstall rate and just poor reviews, which then leads to waste of the growth efforts for the organization. If an organization focuses on growth before having sufficient data, it will eventually lead to few intuitive and random wins. It means that a company will experience very random and sporadic success just based on assumptions and pure luck, rather than making decisions that are driven by comprehensive data analysis and insights. And this doesn't lead to a scientific or repeatable approach. Without a strong emphasis on data, an organization's growth efforts will only rely on guesswork and mostly gut feelings. Most of the results that the organization will achieve will be inconsistent and unpredictable. It will also lead to an inability to forecast growth because the growth decisions are not grounded in some level of data analysis. So there has to be bare minimum level of data-driven growth model in order to make growth realistic and set targets and measure progress effectively. A real life scenario where this could occur is, for example, an e-commerce startup that decides to run marketing campaigns without closely capturing and analyzing user behavior. Such campaigns would generate unexpected surges in traffic and sales, while the outcomes may be flat. But because they don't have a proper system for capturing data and measuring the outcomes, they don't even know what works and what doesn't work, and they just would struggle to replicate their successes consistently and hinder their ability to forecast and plan accordingly in the future towards the outcomes that they expect. A good wrap-up of that first principle is a well-rounded product-led growth strategy emphasizing achieving strong product market fit and making data-driven decisions to ensure that growth efforts are built on a solid foundation of alignment with actually validated user needs. Then there can be a likelihood of accurately forecasted and managed outcomes based on data. I'm going to give real life use cases of organizations that are strongly applying some of these principles in ways that you can walk through the product and see how they apply this principle. For this first principle, first organization that I would say applies this principle to a very large degree is Slack. Slack is a prime example. So before Slack blew up and started experiencing this explosive growth, they worked on having a clean product. The product worked. It was great. They initially targeted the gaming community, but later pivoted when they discovered a stronger need for team communication and collaboration tools. They had a very strong and unwavering focus on achieving product market fit, and that was instrumental to the virality and the success that Slack achieved. Another organization that I would say nailed this first principle of product market fit before data and then growth is Zoom. Zoom didn't start as a giant that they are today. It began catering to businesses, but later recognized the potential for end user and customer use as well. They adapted their focus on product market fit, and this allows Zoom to grow rapidly. And we know what happened to Zoom during the COVID-19 pandemic. That was because Zoom had achieved product market fit just before the COVID-19 pandemic, and they had enough data to justify the growth that they experienced. Now, that's that on the first principle for PLG. The second is build loops and not funnels. Let me explain. This principle, in my opinion, is one of the least talked about aspects of PLG that is so powerful, and I see a lot of organizations adopt. I love funnels, but how do funnels work? Funnels represent a linear and step-by-step approach to user acquisition and conversions. Users go in from the top of the funnel and progress through very predefined stages until they reach the desired outcome that we expect. An example of an outcome could be making a purchase or signing up for a service, something like that. Like I said, funnels are linear, but they are limited. Some characteristics of funnels is that they have very sequential stages. The stages are distinct, what we want the user to achieve first and the next, and the user must progress through all these stages to complete desired outcome. Now, the problem is if they drop off at any of the stages that have been defined, they don't get to proceed anymore. Funnels require continuous external inputs such as marketing efforts to pipe in more people into the funnel and guide them through the various stages of the funnel. A growth loop is a cycle of actions that sustain each other. It basically creates a system where the inputs leads to an output that can be reinvested to generate more inputs. It's a cycle. Funnels have some limitations, and growth loops help to address some of these limitations. One of them is the linear and rigid structure of funnels means that users are expected to progress through predefined stages in a fixed sequence. You have to go through the funnel the way we define the funnel. If they drop out at any stage, it can be a challenge to re-engage and get them back into the funnels. Funnels often require significant upfront marketing and advertisements to drive more users into the funnel. It's our responsibility to maintain a steady flow into the funnel in order to guarantee the outcome at the end of the funnel. It means that our marketing cost has to be really high for us to drive more users into the funnel. Funnels can experience significantly high churn rates, especially if users encounter friction or obstacles at any stage that we have defined. So we'll use users later at the funnel stages, and it can be seen as a waste. Also, predicting the outcomes and conversion rates at each stage of a funnel can be quite challenging, especially with external factors or user behaviors not being well understood, and it can lead to inaccurate forecasting or budget constraints. Growth loops are a helpful framework to think about some of these challenges. They solve these limitations in the following way. Framing the growth plan in a cycle of actions answers what we want to achieve and how we might get there in a holistic, sustainable manner that we can defend. Holistic in the sense of it helps us to answer the question of how might we engage our users to drive in new users. Growth loops thinks about what do we currently have that can be reinvested to create more value, and then reinvested to create more value, making it more sustainable. And defensible means that we can strengthen the customer loyalty and also expand our market share and be sure about what made us grow. The key characteristics of growth loops that give them a leg up over funnels is that growth loops are designed to promote reciprocal actions among users. When a user takes an action, it triggers a response from another user, creating a feedback loop. They don't rely on the linear structure that funnels have. This eventually results in a compound effect. So each cycle of the loop adds value and encourages users to take another action, which then compounds the results in exponential growth over time. It's sustainable because traditional funnels, which require constant input to drive users through various stages, growth loops can sustain themselves with minimal external intervention once they have been initiated. This eventually means that growth loops can lead to lower customer acquisition since they rely on organic user actions like referrals and sharing. Users themselves becomes the promoters, which reduces the need for extensive marketing spend and then just cuts our customer acquisition costs. Growth loops loops are also designed to harness virality. They encourage users to invite others and share, leading to organic growth as referred users enter the loop and in turn invite more users because there is an incentive to invite more users. Growth loops also often result in lower churn rates because users are engaged in the ongoing interaction and they receive some form of value from participating in the loop and the feedback that they get. The loop itself creates a continuous cycle of engagement. Growth loops can create opportunities for upselling and cross-selling since engaged users are already active within the platform anyways. They may be more receptive to exploring additional features or offerings because we are delivering value to them and that value is incentivized. Ultimately, growth loops provide predictable outcomes because they can rely on user actions within the product. It means that we need to nail an understanding of the actions that the user will respond positively to, and once we have that understanding, we can continue to drive users to take those actions. So those data-driven insights from the loop can help us forecast growth more accurately. A quick summary of the growth loops over funnels principle means that growth loops in product-led growth strategies create self-sustained cycles of user acquisition and engagement that compound over time. Unlike traditional and linear funnels, which will require constant external inputs, growth loops generate organic, sustainable, and often exponential growth, making them powerful strategies for companies that are embracing PLG strategy. Now to real-life use cases of organizations that are adopting this principle of growth loops over funnels. The first and the most prominent one I would say is Dropbox. Dropbox has this referral loop. Users who referred others to Dropbox received additional storage. This loop incentivizes users to invite their friends because they know that, oh, if I invite my friend, I get additional storage, which is the primary thing they're here to do in Dropbox. And then it results in significant and organic growth. Those invited users by themselves are also presented the offer for more storage if they invite more people. That way, Dropbox is not necessarily investing in marketing to drive user acquisition through a funnel. They are organically driving growth as a result of the referral program, which offers incentive to users. An organization that I've seen adopt the growth loops over funnel principle well is Airbnb. Airbnb implemented a two-sided marketplace loop. The first, which is the host side, they use a referral program to drive growth among their host community. The program offered hosts a financial incentive for every new host that they refer to the platform. This created a growth loop where hosts were incentivized and rewarded to refer their friends to become hosts as well, which eventually led to Airbnb having more hosts that drove rapid growth for Airbnb. And on the visitor side, a current Airbnb user can access a referral link, share with a friend who has never used Airbnb before. The friend clicks on the referral link and signs up for a new Airbnb account. Once they complete their first booking on Airbnb, the person who shared the referral link and their friend receive a travel credit which they can use towards their next Airbnb booking. And what this means is that Airbnb incentivized visitors to invite their friends to book stays on Airbnb and also incentivizes users to come back to Airbnb for another booking because they have a travel credit that they can reuse. This phenomenal vicious cycle basically helped Airbnb become the global giants that they are today. The third principle of PLG is creating value first instead of collecting payments upfront. So organizations that are adopting the PLG strategy prioritize providing immediate value to their users instead of insisting on upfront payments, then deployment, and then training and all that setup. They understand that allowing the users to experience the product value firsthand is a powerful way to build trust and loyalty. So the try before you buy concept allows users to explore and use the product's core features without any financial commitment or without the thoughts that I have made a financial commitment content which I need to extract value from as soon as possible. So users are more likely to spend time using the product, understanding its capabilities, integrating it into their workflows on a day-to-day basis to figure out how well it suits them. They appreciate the opportunity to make an informed decision based on their first-hand experience. Pretty much, if you're out for my money first, then I'm already trying with the intent to not be charged or to not be cheated, which honestly does not sound like loyalty to me. We can simplify the onboarding process and basically humanize it, encourage users to give the product a chance at least. Scenarios of organizations that are adopting this principle of creating value first instead of collecting payment upfront. Canva is a perfect example. They offer a free graphic design platform with an array of powerful features, templates, automations, and just amazing things that will make you feel like a graphic designer. This is not a Canva ad, but it's an amazing product. Users can create stunning designs without paying a cent, and they can access those designs and use those designs anyway. Over time, as users begin to realize the value, many users choose to upgrade to a paid plan which has a lot more additional and amazing features. A classic example of an organization that is also doing this is HubSpot. HubSpot provides a suite of marketing tools, including CRMs and email marketing, all for free. Users can access and benefit all of these tools without any initial payment, at no cost, at no risk. And as they grow and their needs begin to expand, they often upgrade to paid plans for more advanced features, which eventually works in the favor of HubSpot. This principle requires organizations that are adopting the PLG strategy to understand that the initial value that they provide for free at the beginning, as it seems, will eventually be recouped because the user will make a more informed decision and potentially lead to lower churn rate. The next principle is speedy time to value versus pre-qualification. So in today's fast-paced digital landscape, users have very high expectations for instant gratification everywhere. They want to see the value of a product quickly, often within minutes of signing up. Like, sign up in minutes, I'm not getting amounts. Lengthy onboarding processes are frustrating and will likely lead to leads abandoning a product. Adopting the PLG strategy means that users need to experience the benefits of the product very soon. That means they are highly likely to become engaged and committed users. Users are more likely to invest time and effort into a product that demonstrates value upfront. The initial interactions that users have with a product are critical. That's the implication of this. If those interactions are cumbersome or time-consuming, they can leave a negative first impression, even within minutes. And it makes it harder to win those users back. So they have to make the important decisions about what steps, what fluff, what things they need to take away, and what is absolutely necessary for a user to get to value very quickly, and what can be delayed till later. Users have the freedom and time to explore the product and access the relevant onboarding resources that they feel that they need, instead of a training being forced onto users. And again, this means that the product itself has to be intuitive and lead users into the right aspects of value very quickly without the need for extensive training and demos. This empowers users to take control of their learning process as well, which also gives a feeling of satisfaction to users as they experience the product. Users are allowed to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. This trial and error approach fosters a sense of ownership and proficiency in using the product to suit their needs, as they feel like they have more control over the decisions that they are making within the product without being told what to do. But this puts the burden on the product again to tell this compelling narrative and guide the users in the best way that suits their needs. This by itself is a huge undertaking for most product teams because it puts a lot of burden of responsibility on the overall product experience. Now to the real life use cases of organizations that are adopting this principle. The first, Uber. Uber is a prime example of rapid time to value. Time to value basically means the time between which the user gets into your product and gets some value, which we are trying to optimize for and keep down to minutes. Users can book a ride within minutes of downloading the Uber app, experience the value immediately, and see the Uber drivers that are within their location, put in a location where they are going to, and immediately they are catapulted into Uber's world. This eventually led to Uber's growth worldwide. Dropbox again demonstrates the importance of very quick time to value. When users install Dropbox, they quickly see how easy it is to share and synchronize their files across multiple platforms. This instant value led to the widespread adoption and organic growth for Dropbox. The fifth principle is a tricky one. PLG, or product-led growth, is pro-evolution, not pro-revolution. Let me explain. Let me take that again. PLG is pro-evolution, not pro-revolution. Let me explain. Evolutionary growth is the path to predictable, sustainable, scalable, and competitive growth. It's about creating a system that is robust and defensible. In contrast, a revolution brings about chaos and unpredictability. It's all about investing in the internal growth and expanding to adjacent users rather than just starting from scratch and doing things without rhyme or rhythm. Organizations that are adopting the PLG strategy prioritize steady and predictable outcomes over one-hit wonders that could lead to growth. And that's because revolution brings chaos and one-hit wonders are just one-hit wonders. Let me give examples to explain the difference between evolutionary growth and revolutionary growth. The first example could be investing in growth internally might be a better option for companies that are adopting the PLG strategy compared to bringing an outsider leader to just change things and revolutionize growth in a way that the rest of the organization may not even be able to catch up and sustain. Another example is having incremental and more frequent feature additions versus a sudden change within the product or a sudden new feature, which might just be a one-hit wonder. An organization may not have the bandwidth for 365 one-hit wonders in a year, but they may have the bandwidth for 365 incremental and frequent feature additions in a year. Example could be an organization considering the possibility of expanding to adjacent users instead of picking a brand new persona that they have absolutely no idea about. In many cases, organizations that are trying to be evolutionary and not revolutionary, they scale with frameworks and not things like hacks. Solving problems would help to put a replicable process that we can learn from and we can guarantee that we can win. A hack is okay, don't get me wrong, but it may not always be scalable and sustainable. Give real life scenarios to also shed some more light on this evolutionary versus revolutionary growth. Netflix is a typical example. Rather than revolutionizing their entire business, Netflix evolved from DVD rentals services to streaming platforms within the same movie industry space. The gradual transformation allowed them to keep existing customers while attracting new ones. Another typical example is Facebook, which started as a platform exclusively for college students before gradually opening up to a broader audience. This step-by-step approach to expansion enabled Facebook to maintain user engagement and trust. And last but not the least principle for PLG growth that I believe is very important is failure is seen as learning, not wastage. The growth team's mission is to uncover gaps between the product and the customer interaction. They employ scientific methods, including experimentation, to expedite discovery. But failures are a stepping stone to refining and defining hypotheses and secure those wins. In the world of PLG, learning and failure is a part of the journey that teams need to embrace. As a matter of fact, it's highly encouraged to try new things and fail at those things than not trying new things at all. When experiments do not yield the expected results, they provide insight into what does not work and why, which means we don't need to repeat those things in the future. And it's information that is critical for refining our strategies and our hypotheses. The changes in the culture of how the team sees failure significantly impacts how audacious they can be in trying things and discovering new insights. Knowing that failure is an option, it helps teams to cultivate a learning-oriented approach where experimentation and adaptation are highly encouraged. Team members are encouraged to question assumptions from anyone that is raising those assumptions and challenge the status quo and embrace continuous improvements. Product-led growth teams understand that growth is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing process of iterative optimization. They wear this art of, if we meet our goals and objective, we celebrate the process of refining and enhancing the product based on user feedback and data insights. And if we don't win, we know where to start making adjustments from. That's the mindset. Organizations that we see adopt this, one I would say is Airbnb. The experience said back when they first introduced experiences feature a while back, it didn't take off as expected. However, they didn't abandon the idea. They learned from the initial failure and made improvements and relaunched it successfully. Another organization is LinkedIn. LinkedIn experiments with features a lot, and one of them includes a marketplace for freelancers. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it didn't gain traction. Rather, they considered it a waste and incorporated that into the other areas of their platform and just improved their overall user experience. So I believe this is a principle that with or without the PLG approach, a lot of product organizations are adopting these opportunities to learn from failure, as against seeing it as a reflection on the individuals or the team or the organization, which I believe is a very fantastic principle to adopt. I mentioned earlier that I was going to be sharing some recommendations for you if you're considering the possibility that your organization might be ripe for adopting the PLG strategy. And here we are. So if you're a mid-level product manager who has significant influence on your product organization and I'm beginning to think, this PLG thing might be a thing that we can benefit from, I have two major recommendations for you. The first is ensure that your product has achieved product market fit. Now, how do you ensure that your product has achieved product market fit? The first is by simply checking that, one, you have a product, it has a clear value proposition, that value proposition and the product solves that specific problem for a specific set of users. And those users are willing to pay. Not only that, they have already paid for it over a period of time with their money or their time. And then there is a big enough market to sell to. A market basically means more users that fall within the category of those that are already using your product. That is how you understand if you've achieved product market fit. Let me reiterate that again. If you've ensured that your product has achieved product market fit, you are one step closer to being ready to adopt PLG growth strategy. My second recommendation is to buckle up for a culture shift. Transitioning to product-led approach, it entails pivoting from the traditional sales-driven or marketing-focused models and adopting a mindset where product is at the front and center for decision-making for users. It means that every team needs to rally behind the product and the end-user success. PLG is not just for the product team, it's for the entire organization, even though the product is at the forefront of decision-making for users. The entire organization needs to be involved, from everyone involved in conceptualization to delivery and ongoing maintenance of the product. In addition, you may also need to start thinking about the right PLG model that works for your team and your organization, because there are a number of them. There are a couple of them that works based on different scenarios or how your organization is structured. And if you're seriously interested in transitioning to becoming a product-led organization, there are lots of training programs to show you the strategies and frameworks that can help you along the way. I've linked a couple of resources in the description box below just to get you started with respect to knowledge and experts and professionals that I know of and follow that are great and could help you transition into product-led growth strategy in your organization. And there you have it, folks, a thrilling journey through the labyrinth of product-led growth. I hope you're as inspired as I am by this transformative strategy. And as always, if this has been helpful to you, please share this video with your product manager friends and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.